ancillary gatekeeper folks who gatekeep on the lesser gatekeeper folks, and so on.
I don't know, Barack. The Department of Gatekeeper folks, it kind of sounds authoritarian, no?
We need to get back to institutional norms, Jimmy, and set a new tone. It's not authoritarian, it's tone-authorian. We're the tone-authorians.
Wow. It still sounds kind of weird, Barack.
You're right, Jimmy. How about the Department of Press and Social Order?
I don't know. That sounds like the Vargas dictatorship in Brazil during World War II.
You must have read that on social media or something. Okay. How about the Ministry of Public Enlightenment and Propaganda?
That was run by Joseph Goebbels.
Okay. How about the Department of Information?
That was run by apartheid South Africa.
Okay. Well, here's one that sounds harmless enough. The Ministry of Popular Culture.
That was fascist Italy under Mussolini.
Don't be a purist, Jimmy. It's only a name.
I'm sorry. How about the Ministry of Truth?
Wow. That's so Orwellian. It's perfect. Thanks for the help, Jimmy. So long, and don't forget to watch my latest 60 Minutes interview. Speaking of gatekeepers, it's sponsored by Pfizer.
Yep.
Pull up your damn pants and take your penis pill.
Hey, we no longer have an Amazon link because we're not doing that. We're not playing that game. But here's another great way you can help support the show is you become a premium member. We give you a couple of hours of premium bonus content every week, and it's a great way to help support the show. You can do it by going to jimmydorecomedy.com, clicking on Join Premium. It's the most affordable premium program in the business, and it's a great way to help put your thumb back in the eye of the bastards. Thanks for everybody who was already a premium member, and if you haven't, you're missing out. We give you lots of bonus content. Thanks for your support. We are outside Joe Biden's campaign office in Philadelphia demanding that he fulfill his climate mandate. We elected you, Joe, and now it's time to act.
Biden, these are letters from people, the young people that got you in office. We need you to be brave right now for our futures, for our generation, because we're counting on you.
So now that makes sense, right? That makes sense, right? You want to make Joe Biden is assembling his cabinet right now, and he's putting, fracking lobbyists in, asbestos lobbyists, stuff like that, corporatists of all different kinds, people from the fossil fuel industry. And so now is the time to keep your eye open and be on it. That's right. Some people, there's a lot of apologists for the Democratic Party. They don't like that. Like this lady here, she says, what the F is wrong with you people? He isn't even in office yet. The first thing he needs to deal with is the pandemic. Otherwise, everything else is moot. Jesus effing see Christ, these people. Get behind that. Then we'll take you seriously. You always need to worry about something else. First, he needs to get the pandemic in order, you guys. That awful thing that we'll have more of if we don't do something about climate change? Then maybe he might do something about climate change. Come on. What does she think, that we're only supposed to protest Trump between now and January? We can only protest Trump? He's building a cabinet and he's drawing plans for the new year. Now is actually one of the few useful times to apply political pressure. I hope this helps. I want to say thanks to that guy. But basically, he's like, excuse me, ma'am, who we really want to take seriously. Here's how basic politics works. That's how it works. Who brainwashed these folks? There are actual enemies to their cause, but they don't even seem to know who they are. The Sunrise Movement is one of the best Republican operations in existence. Oh, boy. See that? Who brainwashed these folks? I guess it was Joe Biden who brainwashed them with all the times he said he was against a Green New Deal. Would that be who brainwashed them? Do you see this garbage? These are the same lines I've been fed my entire life. They were, I've learned, just useless platitudes to pacify people into not putting in the work. Useless then, useless now. Politicians are not your friends. They will not fight for you unless we push them. It's bitching at a guy who both agreed and has a far better team of experts on the issue than they do. So they're saying that the Sunrise Movement, they're just bitching. No, it's bitching at a guy who's setting the stage to do little more than window dressing about climate change and our future of the planet's at stake. That's all. I love when they say bitching. So when you're protesting and they don't like what you're protesting about, you're bitching. Oh, with that Martin Luther King with his whining. You still whining about equal rights? Hey, Joe Biden's campaign co-chair is a big oil and gas booster. Joe Biden has surrounded himself with people tied to the natural gas industry for his 2020 presidential campaign. His climate advisor, Heather Zeckel, is a board member of gas company Shenra Energy, while one of his fundraisers is co-founder of natural gas company Western LNG. In addition, Biden's super PAC supporting his candidacy has a former gas lobbyist on its board. Joe Biden selected in May to serve as his campaign co-chair Louisiana Democratic Representative Cedric Richmond. Despite representing a low-lying Louisiana district, one of the areas in the U.S. most immediately impacted by climate change, Cedric Richmond has voted reliably in favor of expanding production and exports of natural gas and oil. His voting record is one of the most fossil fuel industry friendly of all Democrats in Congress. And I'm guessing nothing will fundamentally change. In 2015, Richmond was one of the 28 House Democrats to vote in favor of approving construction on the Keystone XL pipeline. That's who Joe Biden's putting in his cabinet. These are the guys Joe Biden is finding. Wow. This is what Joe Biden means when he says he can work with Republicans, I guess. Last year, he voted in favor of legislation from Representative Bill Johnson, a Republican from Ohio, that would undermine the environmental review process for gas pipelines by stating that all pipelines that transport 0.14 billion cubic feet per day or less should be immediately approved. The Marathon Petroleum and ExxonMobil refineries in Richmond's districts are located along the banks of the Mississippi River. Downstream from these plants and a number of chemical company facilities, also in the district, is a region known as Cancer Alley, which for decades has experienced much higher rates of cancer and other diseases than the rest of the United States. Richmond, a member of the moderate New Democrat coalition. So this is a guy who Joe Biden is this guy Richmond, a member of the moderate New Democratic coalition, the New Democratic coalition, which somehow manages to be even shittier than regular Democrats. He's a member of the New Democrat coalition, which is just nothing but corporatist yes men. He has voted in favor of many Republican bills opposed by environmentalists over the years. The League of Conservation Voters gave Richmond an environmental rating of just 46% during President Trump's first 2 years in office, a lower rating than several Republicans. So just remember, when Joe's not appointing Republicans, he's appointing Democrats with worse records. There it is, Representative Cedric Richmond to serve in Biden's administration. He resigns from Congress. In the future, never promise to vote for somebody without getting something in return. Voting is a transaction, not a loyalty oath. Biden doesn't have to do jack for you now, and he probably won't. And that's a fact. And that's why I didn't vote for Joe Biden. And I'm never voting for another corporatist warmonger for the rest of my life. That started in 2016. You can join me starting a People's Party. Because that's what this is going to take. Because if you think that electing progressives to Congress inside the Democratic Party is going to make a bit of a fucking difference, I hate to break your heart, but you're a chump. They all voted for the largest upward transfer of wealth in the history of the human race. You go ahead and try to square that circle. You don't even know what the fuck is in that CARES Act, which is why you don't ever ask them questions about it, which is why I'm to the left of you. Joe Biden has announced that Ronald Klain will serve President-elect Biden as White House Chief of Staff. Who is that guy? I bet he's a big progressive. I bet he's the opposite of a Republican corporatist, right? He's a guy who's going to fight for workers and lefties. Well, he comes right from K Street. You know what K Street is? That's where all the lobbyists are. Well, here, you want to know who he is? Here's who he is. Ron Klain was a paid lobbyist for an asbestos industry bailout package, an airline merger, mortgage regulations to help Fannie Mae and drug maker under a congressional scrutiny for withholding a life-saving drugs from dying patients, among other clients. So that's kind of what he does as a lobbyist. He does all this horrible, bad stuff. He's a lobbyist. He's going to be his chief of staff. Klain's career as a lobbyist, during which clients paid nearly $700,000 for lobbying in which he participated, ended when he left his partnership at the law firm McElvany and Myers in 2005. So Biden is extending an olive branch to progressives. It's just covered in asbestos and fracking fluid. Guy got $700,000 for lobbying. So, you know, he's a true servant of the working people. I'm surprised he didn't do PR for Halliburton while he was at it. U.S. Airways in 2000 and 2001 paid as much as $140,000 to have Klain lobby Congress and the Justice and Transportation Departments on the air carrier's proposed merger with United Airlines. Again, clearly a grassroots kind of guy. Going back 20 years, grassroots. He's been doing this for his whole life, this guy. Airborne Express in 2003 paid O'Melveny $120,000 to have Klain lobby Congress and the Transportation Department in support of a sale of its ground assets to DHL Worldwide Express. A $1 billion transaction finalized 1 month after Klain's firm was retained. So Klain's team brought in even quicker cash representing the drug maker Imclone. His team lobbied 4 powerful members of the House Committee on Government Reform about compassionate use investigational new drug applications during FDA clinical testing process. Okay. The committee held hearings at which Imclone President Sam Waxel was confronted by survivors of cancer victims who died after trying unsuccessfully to get Imclone to grant them compassionate use supplies of its much ballyhooed experimental cancer drug C225. Waxel acknowledged that his company granted only 30 compassionate use supplies out of more than 10,000 requests and said his company should have communicated better with terminally ill patients. Wow. From 2001 to 2005, AOL Time Warner paid as much as $130,000 for Ron Klain-led team to lobby Congress and the Justice Department on issues related to competition in internet and related computer sciences. Wow. Mark Ames tweets this out. Incredible, but not entirely surprising, Biden's first appointee, Ron Klain, worked for Steve Case's Revolution Fund. Back in 2009, I wrote about Larry Summers' work for Revolution, which got millions in suspicious funds from Goldman Sachs, Citigroup, and Morgan Stanley. Wow. 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 Lee Fong tweets this out. Ron Klain, who will serve as Biden's new White House chief of staff, was appointed in 2016 to the Executive Council of TechNet, the trade group that lobbies for Silicon Valley's interests in D.C.